Man, I got all kinds of stuff coming in at the garden. This is time of year. I know other people's is hunkered down, but this time of year, in addition to spring, it's probably one of my most busiest times in the garden. There's all kinds of stuff coming in, and I want to go over a little bit of it here. So let's start off with this leek right here. And I made a little boo-boo planting these. I didn't plant them deep enough.
Well, I was going to talk to you about that. Go ahead.
So I've seen other people, some of the market farmers and stuff on Facebook, they'll have them where that white part will be this long or so. And I saw a guy the other day put a picture of what he was doing. He was taking a broad fork and poking long, almost 8 to 12 inch holes down in the ground and putting his transplants down in there. And that's what should. The other option is to throw dirt to them, but that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm actually do a video showing how.
Well, I planted some over the weekend. I hope it wasn't too late. And I had a little spot there I need to fill in. We had some pretty leek transplants, so I stole some and put in there. What I did is took my hoe handle. My soil was nice and soft, so I took my hoe handle, went through there and jobbed it as deep as I could, and I planted them deep per Travis's recommendations.
Yeah. So these are the Matteo Leaks, and I really like this variety. It seems to grow faster than that Tadorna variety, which I have some of those planted. Tadorna's OP. This is a hybrid, and you can plant these early in fall. And I really, really like this variety, and you see it's growing well. I need to throw some dirt to them. They ain't ready yet. They'll get a little bigger than this, but I need to put some dirt to them.
Leeks, unlike onions, you don't eat the green part on the leeks.
Right.
You just eat this part down here. So
right.
that's where the money's at. It's down here in the bottom, the white part.
Yeah. And I seen it, like I said, I seen a guy at Vermont had some. The white portion was that long and big old thick around. And
I'm new to growing leeks. This is my first.
I got a little work to do, but I'm gonna get there. Okay. So that's our leek. Now let's go on to our beet here.
Mm.
So we got some beets getting ready. We've got some kestrel beets, which are red ones. I've got some early wonder tall tops, and then these touchstone gold ones here are getting ready.
Let me cut that open. Let's look at it.
And those have a pretty inside.
Boy, don't they though? Look at there.
Pretty golden beet there. Make me want to take a little bite. Now the gold ones ain't quite as earthy as the red ones. So if you don't like the earthy flavor quite as much, go with the gold ones. But
there's a lot of difference in the taste here to me of these and the red ones.
And I actually,
I'm gonna eat them raw. I don't know if I don't.
Merry Christmas! I brought you a couple sacks.
Ooh, you did, didn't you?
I brought you a sack of touchstone golds and a sack of red ones, kestrels there. So we got beets coming along, and we succession plant these all throughout the fall and winter months. I've got some that were planted about a week or two ago, some that were planted about 4 weeks ago. I need to get me some more growing in the greenhouse so I can just have them ready all throughout these months until it gets hot.
If you ain't never had your beets boiled in some chicken broth, you don't know what you're missing out on.
Now the third thing
like
here,
eating candy.
the third thing, which I need a little viewer suggestions on, is my rutabagas. Now, some of y'all might be saying, my rutabagas put off a lot more greens than these, but we've been picking greens off these. Probably, we've already harvested the greens 3 or 4 times, and they still making more greens. So I harvested the greens off these on Sunday to put in my vegetable bags. And this was my biggest root that I had out there. And I don't know how big you're supposed to let these things get.
Well, in the grocery store, you'll see them bigger than that. But my thought process here is you're stressing that plant a little bit by cropping those leaves off of it, and that root's not getting as big. What do you think about that?
Could be so. But as far as value for what I'm getting out of them, I get a lot, I get 4 times as much profit off these leaves than I do the root.
There was somebody on the Facebook group that took those rutabagas and smashed them and roasted them.
Yeah.
And that looked really good. New one on me.
What I'm asking is if you let them get big as they do in the grocery store, because I think these will. Is there like a point where of diminishing return where they don't taste as good?
I don't
know. If you got any rutabaga experience out there, let me know if I should get all these up about this size or should we keep letting them get bigger?
The ones I've growed in the past in the garden, that was about the size we always harvested them at. We never did get them the real big ones.
Anyway, I thought those were pretty. When you harvest these things, they got a big old, because we transplanted a big old kind of knot of soil right there. I took my knife, trimmed it off, get it nice and pretty. And then lastly, we've got some pak choy or bok choy, whatever you want to call it. And this is the Feng King variety, Fengqing, I think that's how you spell that. And so this is different than the joy choy we have. The joy choy has more of a white stem. These have more of a darker stem on it. And I can let these get a little bit bigger. If I let them get too big, and I know this from the past, I can't fit them in my little bags that I do there. So I don't want to let them get too big. That's pretty good size right there.
That is good size, and this is one of the easiest things to grow in cool weather. Doesn't have a lot of disease or insect pressure. Fast. It grows real good. So if you're a new gardener or you've never grown these before, don't be scared or intimidated by them because they are real easy to grow.
And they're pretty easy to cut. You just cut it off there just like you would a cabbage or something else. And these leaves here and the stems, you eat this whole thing, are really, really tender. This stuff cooks down fast. You get a pan hot, you can have some of this ready in less than 10 minutes.
It's especially in the Asian cuisine.
Cuisine. Anyway, that's some of my prettiest stuff I got growing right now. I got other stuff, cabbage, broccoli, all kind of stuff coming in.
My garden's kicking too.
We still got to work with you on your carrots. I seen where you didn't have a good.
I didn't have a good carrot outcome, but I mean it may be salvageable. We're working on that, but other things are looking real good.
My carrots are looking
How's
fine.
the mustard greens looking?
My mustard greens?
No, my mustard
greens.
greens.
Oh, you got really good looking. Your curled mustard's looking good. Let's say hey to everybody before we get too more in depth here. Hello everyone and welcome to the Row by Row Garden Show. I'm Travis.
And I'm Greg.
And we're excited to have you with us tonight. This is our weekly garden show. Comes on every Thursday night at 8 o'clock where we talk shop and talk about what's going on in the garden and what you can grow in your garden. And if this is your first time watching our show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell button down below so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you're a frequent viewer of the show, it's always good to have you back. So
if you are a new viewer to the show, just give you a little update. We are located in South Georgia in Zone 8. However, we like to talk about gardening everywhere, but our expertise is in Zone 8.
That's right. That's where we are, and we grow food year round.
Year round.
Year round. Let's talk about a few other things here. We showed that krabi we were eating last week on the show, and you can go back. And, if you didn't see that, you can go back and watch that. A lot of people were wanting that recipe, so Miss Hoss gave us the recipe here, and I'll show it. Now, Miss Hoss, she ain't all about writing down certain amounts, so I just got what was all in it, and you can kind of adjust them to your liking. So I call it a shredded krabi salad. So we shredded that krabi with the grater, and then olive oil, balsamic vinegar, probably just a little bit of mayo. I didn't taste a lot of mayo.
What kind of mayo?
Gotta be Duke's mayo. Minced ginger, fresh lime, and some salt and pepper to taste. And I would say not a whole lot of mayo. I like mine to be a little more vinegar tasting, but you can adjust it however you like it there. Pretty simple, and then we topped it with some of those fresh green onions. Mm-mm. So there's your krabi recipe. Krabi is another fast, quick crop, just like that pak choy. You can get that out of the way quick. Cover cropping update. I had a video come out on Tuesday showing my cover crop cocktail, which is looking really nice. And also I got some winter rye planted. And a lot of people are always asking when they can plant cover crops. If you live in the South, you can plant winter rye anytime.
Yeah, it's going to be a little slower coming up than it would be in the fall of the year. I got daikon radishes growing like crazy. I got mustard growing as a cover crop. Now, I'm probably end up going to have to take that mustard and work it into the soil first of any of them, because when it goes to blooming, that's the time to get it in. And I suspect mine's going to start trying to bloom about January or early February. When it does, I'm going to have to extinguish it and work it back into the soils. And it will be the first cover crop that I turn back in.
And after you do that, you got to wait a few weeks. We'll let all those gases kind of do their thing.
Yeah, it's not that long. I work it in, you know, the key to it, and we've talked about this before, is cutting it and working it in within 15 minutes, which I know is hard to do. But if you're going to get those gases, the full benefit of those gases, you got to cut them and work them into the soil quick for the gases to work. And they decompose fairly quick, not too bad.
Yeah.
But no, you definitely don't want to go back within a couple of days and plant behind them. If you do, you're going to have some issues.
Yeah. Stuff ain't going to come up real well.
Yep. Daikon radishes are growing like crazy. I always plant them too thick. I did this year too. I said last year I wasn't going to do that again, but I planted them too thick.
I did that too. I just can't help it.
I can't help it either. And because I wanted to harvest some of the radishes, and they do get pretty good size, but they don't get as big as when you plant them thinner and let them grow. So I got that issue to contend with. I got my combinations going like everybody else. I got my legumes, my vetch growing with some rye. And also I did something a little bit different. I planted oats with vetch in one spot.
Oats and oats. A few more things on seeds I want to talk about. Varieties that we hadn't had or are getting, and we're going to talk about some new varieties a little bit later too. First of all, the zipper cream pea, which last year,
last 2 years.
Last 2 years there was a crop failure. Last year we had them later than anybody did, and we sold out quick. Zipper creams are back.
And we have some coming.
We have several 100 pounds of them coming, so we'll have plenty of them. We should. So those should be back in availability soon. We're
expecting those probably around the end of January, and I know it's a little aggravating because everybody wants to buy the seed a little bit early. But pea seed is one of those things you just cannot get in early.
Right.
I don't care where you book them at; they don't ship them things till January. So we're gonna probably be the end of January before we get them. However, we do have them spoke for, and we have them coming on the way. So we feel better about that than we did last year with the zippers.
That's right. On the collards, so we've talked about that tiger collard and how good it is. However, and I don't know why they do this, but the seed producers tend to do this. Once you start really liking a variety, they're going to find something better to replace it with.
It's called marketing.
Yeah, marketing. So, and it stinks for us because we got all these videos that are talking about tiger collards. Anyway, the tiger collard is being phased out. And as far as I know, the bulldog is being phased out too. And so everything is going to this new Top Bunch 2.0. Now the Top Bunch was a great variety several years ago, and I think they had some crop failures on that and had to redevelop it. And now,
well, the genetics on it got weak, is what I heard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the genetics got weak, so they rebred it up, and they got a 2.0 coming out.
Top Bunch 2.0. We still have tiger collards, and they still germ really good. But we'll be adding this Top Bunch 2.0 pretty soon. So you'll be able to get both for a little while there. And I don't know, I'm gonna grow them side by side. I think they'll perform pretty similarly. So you'll still be able to get both. And then once the tigers run out, it's gonna be all Top Bunch 2.0. What else? Pumpkins.
Pumpkins, we need to talk about pumpkins a little bit. Oh, they can be, I don't know why people have so many crop failures with these pumpkins, but pumpkins can be, especially specialty pumpkins, can be finicky. Our supplier on the Seminole pumpkin is going to be slim this year.
Yeah, so if you want to grow some Seminole pumpkins, and we've got some packed back there, if we're looking at that variety, you need to act fast. I've got a tiny little bit. I don't know what I got packed in the back, but I've got a tiny little bit coming that he had, the grower had, that's going to give me probably 20 or 30 packs. So Seminole pumpkins going to be very, very limited this year. So if you want some of those, you need to get them while we got them.
Cherokee Tan. So we grew Cherokee Tan for the first time last year, and we had a pretty good crop of them.
Really good crop.
We feel good about that. And we got a few seed packets available this year.
So here's the deal with Cherokee Tan. We, Deep South Homestead, give us a small little pack, and I think we grew 15 transplants and planted them and grew a big old crop of pumpkins. We took our pumpkins, we harvested the seed, we had the seeds germ tested, the germ test come back really good. Now, I can't sell all my seed that we have because then
we got to keep some foundation seed.
We got to keep some foundation seed, and I got to do a bigger grow out and a bigger grow out.
You sure seeing I a lot. I thought
I mean, we gotta do a bigger grow out. So we need to save enough seed from that seed stock to grow out about a 1/4 acre, and then next year we can get somebody, a professional seed grower outer, so to say, to grow at about a 5 acre crop, and then we'd have a really good supply. So what I'm going to do is what we're going to do is take our seed stock and we're going to pull back 1,000 seeds, or roughly. Now, since these are rare, the packets are going to only contain 10 seeds. And we're going to have 100 packets of them, and that's all we're going to have this year. So 100 packets, and I can promise you, 10 of these plants is going to take up a good bit of space. So that's all a home backyard feller needs.
Now on these Cherokee Tans and these Seminole pumpkins, there's not a huge supply of seed laying around out there. So this is what I'd recommend to you. If you want to grow either one of these two varieties, which I'm a big fan of both of them, save you a few seeds because you never know what's going to happen. So pick out your biggest and best pumpkins when they make, and set those to the side. And you know, it don't take but a couple or 3. You'd be surprised how many seeds you get out of a pumpkin. Set you a few of those to the side and save you a few seeds from year to year. And I think it'll pay off in the end. Just in case we all have crop failure, somebody would have them. So I was encouraged these rare varieties to do your best on saving seeds. It's not like a tomato or pepper that's really hard to do the seed. These pumpkin seeds are very easy to save. Save them, put them up, and you'll have your decent little supply of them because they are so rare.
Yeah, and on the Cherokee Tan, I forget where I was going there.
Be careful not let them cross-pollinate. You want to make sure, I wouldn't plant Cherokee and Seminole. I would either go with one or the other and make sure they don't cross-pollinate. That way you can keep them true to variety. You're going to find both of them here in the South is disease and insect resistant, and that Cherokee Tan will just blow your socks off on how that thing will grow. It's the most vigorous pumpkin I have ever seen.
Yeah, the Seminole pumpkin is native to South Florida. The Cherokee Tan is native to Appalachian region, but they both have done really well for us. So I got to get seed packets printed. It's going to be probably another month or so. We'll let you know. You got to watch the show. We'll let you know on the show that night, on one Thursday night, when we got them ready, because we know they're going to sell out fast. So we'll let you know when we got them ready, and you can grab some of those if you want them. One more thing. So I'm in a few of these Facebook market farming groups, and there's a lot of these upstart market farmers in there, and they just real passionate about life and things, and they I do a little market farming, just kind of, pay my babysitter. But a lot of these folks, they think they're going to save the world and change the global food supply and all this. And
well, it's nice to see somebody having an upbeat attitude.
It is. And they're all super, almost overly passionate about what they do. And sometimes I like to put a little post on there and poke the bear every now and then. But anyway, I was posting something. I wasn't poking the bear initially the other day. I was posting something because I've noticed this in my plants. So you got no-till is the buzzword now. Everybody's all about, a lot of these market farmers are going to no-till. However, I notice when I cultivate close to my plants, or when I wheel hoe, or even if I had enough row space, and even if I decided to get a tiller in there, I can, especially this time of year, I can see them pop. It's almost like you hit them with some fertilizer. When you go down there and cultivate beside them, kind of aerate that soil right beside those plants, man, they'll pop. I had some rutabagas and some broccoli that I did this to a few days ago, and man, they doubled in size since.
Well, the old timer once told me, he said, you got to let them breathe. And when you cultivate that soil and bust it open a little bit, that allows that root to breathe a little bit.
Yeah. And you know, the no-till thing is good, works for some people, but from my experiences, my soil needs some aeration.
No-till works wonderful in a situation where you're growing perennials. You're growing blueberries, blackberries, strawberries as a perennial, those things, no-till works wonderful. When you start growing annuals, you start having some huge challenges with no-till.
It's a lot more work in my opinion, although some people would argue that it's not. And now a lot of these, to me, when I say the word no-till, I think of a system that involves like cover cropping. You have some way you kill the cover crop via crimping, and then you have a bigger drill that you go in and plant into that residue. That's what I think of.
Well, I think everybody should do minimal tillage. I don't think you should till no more than what you have to, by all means. I mean, don't do it just because you think you can.
Right.
Because it does have an effect on the soil. But the no-till is kind of like permaculture to me. Permaculture came out a few years ago, and I never really have understood that buzzword of permaculture. I get it a little bit, but I don't completely understand what it means. And it's one of those buzzwords that really didn't have a clear definition to it, as of no-till.
Yeah, it's like the whole food forest thing. I'm not trying to interplant my vegetables within my fig trees and create this kind of Garden of Eden situation. In my experiences, each of those need a little bit different treatment, so I like to isolate them, but each to their own.
Yeah.
We had somebody ask on one of our videos about injecting fertilizer to the drip system. That was new to them, and they were asking a little bit about it. And what they were getting to was, what's the difference between putting out granular fertilizer versus putting it to the drip system? And it got me to thinking maybe we could give a little explanation on, and we could do several shows on this, but just a brief summary on what we call spoon feeding versus side dressing.
Spoon feeding is where you put that nutrient to the plant and it's immediately available to the plant. Whether you carry it through a water system or you put it out with a sprayer or whatever, it's immediately available and it's taken up. Side dressing is normally when you take a granular product and put it beside the plant, and it takes a period of time before it becomes available to the plant. So the rates, and this is where it really gets kind of confusing, the rates are different there because you got something that's immediately available versus something that's going to be available somewhat, but it's going to break down over a period of time. Spoon feeding is quicker. I personally like to do a lot of spoon feeding. I'd also side dress too. Again, a prime example of that, I always side dress my corn. Mm-hmm. I spoon feed it and side dress it. A lot of times on my things that's growing quick, like mustard and turnips, I'll just spoon feed those. But you got to understand your rate is going to be different because your spoon feeding you have to do at a lot closer intervals than you do your side dressing. If I knew I won't be able to get back out there for a couple of weeks and tend to it, I'd definitely do the side dressing because I know it's going to be there and it's going to gradually feed that plant. If I'm available to do it on an interval like it needs to be done, that spoon feeding, you're going to get a lot bigger and better results out of it. So there you kind of have it, the breakdown of the spoon feeding versus the side dressing. Both of them they just work differently.
Right, so in summary, side dressing, you putting granular out there, it's slow release, and it's going to just slowly bleed.
Well,
slowly
I'm
feed
not
the
going to say it's not categorized as slow release, it's a slower release.
Slower release. With the spoon feeding, you're giving it quick pop, boom, but in lighter concentrations with more frequency.
Exactly, in summary.
Right, in summary. Okay. We're going to get into the girls been busy packing seed. We've been adding a lot of new varieties and still got several, I'd say 20 or 40 more to go. But I wanted to and we'll do some more shows on these, but I picked about 5 or 6 that I wanted to talk about that I'm really, really, really excited about.
And I picked 6, and I actually picked a couple that you picked, so we'll kind of have to run them together.
Okay, so the first couple I'm going to talk about are these tomatoes, okay? And everybody loves tomatoes. And we've got our several pelleted disease-resistant varieties on the site. We've got our Bella Rosa, our Brickyard, our Mountain Glory. This is a new one here. This is called Red Snapper Tomato. And we are the only company out there selling this in small packet quantities. And just to speak about this tomato here, let me tell you what it does first. So this tomato is resistant to the all dangerous tomato spotted wilt virus that causes folks like us that live in hot and humid areas. It causes a lot of problems. It's resistant to that. This one is also resistant to, and it's the only one I found, and this is why I picked it, that is resistant to tomato yellow leaf curl virus. And I don't think I need to go into a lot of detail explaining what that virus is, because I believe if you live down here, you've had it, you know what it looks like.
Yeah, and I've called myself an experienced tomato grower, and I have had it before and misdiagnosed it as insect pressure. It's very easy to misdiagnose that leaf curl as insect pressure.
So the tomato yellow leaf curl virus is actually vectored or transmitted by whiteflies. And once your plants get it, it's like the spotted wilt virus. It's ball game's over with. So this variety, it makes a really large
beef steak type.
Big tomato, big red tomato, and very, very disease resistant. And I'm really excited about growing this because that leaf curl virus has plagued me in the past. Like I said, we're the only company out there selling this in small quantities, and I'll tell you why. A lot of your seed companies, a majority of seed companies, are located up north, and they don't have to deal with a lot of the things that we have to deal with growing down here. Now, that's not to say our varieties won't do great up north as well, but because they never had to deal with those pressures, they've never been really forced to go out there and search and find varieties that are going to help them be able to grow tomatoes despite those pressures.
I had somebody, I was giving a tour of the seed room just a couple of days ago, and they were local, and they said, I just can't grow tomatoes. I said, well, you've not tried these. If you've had trouble growing tomatoes in the past, you got to try one of these virus-resistant varieties. I think we have about 5 or 6 of them altogether. And it'll change the way you thought about growing tomatoes, I promise you.
So, I think these will do fine if you live in an area where you can grow heirlooms, but if you live in Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, if you live where it gets hot and humid, you're going to definitely want to try this red snapper. And it's on the site now, it's pelleted. Now these do cost a little bit more than our other tomatoes. This is our most expensive variety, but I think you're going to really, really enjoy them. And a couple more dollars per seed pack is pretty negligible when you think about how many more tomatoes you're going to get.
And I just want you picking at your next one. Let me talk about this just for a second. So what happened years ago when we had so much disease pressure, the breeders started coming out with disease-resistant varieties, but the problem was is they left the taste off of them. So we've had disease-resistant varieties out for around, but just in the last very few years have they started working on the flavor and the taste, because they understand it didn't make no difference how disease resistant it was. If it wasn't good to eat, people didn't want it. So these newer varieties that we have not only are disease resistant, but they are good to eat. They have good flavor to them and everything, and that's a great package to have a good eating tomato with a good disease resistant package as well.
That's right. One more tomato I want to talk about, and this is something I've been looking for since we started carrying seed, and that is a disease-resistant roma or sauce type tomato. And I found one, and this is called Tachi, T-A-C-H-I. Now, just like with the red snapper, we're the only ones out there carrying this in seed packs. So this Tachi tomato, not only is it resistant to that spotted wilt virus that's so bad, that's vectored by thrips, this one is nematode resistant, folks.
That's interesting.
So you don't find many tomato varieties, if any, out there that are nematode resistant, but this Tachi tomato is. So those of you who struggle with nematodes, this is going to be the way to go. Now, one thing that's different about this, your traditional Roma tomato, like your Amish paste, stuff like that, those are indeterminate. This is a determinate variety. So you're just going to get a big pop there, a couple big pops. They're just going to load up. This would be great to grow in a cage, or you could probably do a Florida weed with it. So this is a determinate variety. It's going to give you those nice big, blocky sauce tomatoes to do your canning with. Nematode
How about
resistant.
that? I'm going to grow those this year.
I am too. All right, your turn.
My turn. Okay. So the first one here is an old variety that's been around for a long time that we just got in and began to offer. It's a sugar baby watermelon.
Sugar baby watermelon. That just makes your mouth water.
It does, and it's an old variety that's been around forever. But what's great about them is they're small. So they're not the huge one that you have problems toting out the field if you grow watermelons like I do, large watermelons. But these are small, personal sized watermelons. Sugar baby, got a high sugar content. Been grown for a long time. I like those right there, those sugar babies.
The other thing I would say about these is when you picking them, they're easier to find. Now them crimson sweets, they kind of blend in with the foliage, but
It has
these,
a nice darker color to
yeah,
it.
they're easier to find.
Now this is one of my all-time favorites right here, is sweet dumpling squash. This is a winter squash, but this, to me, is the absolutely top of the line as far as flavor goes with the winter squash. The sweet dumpling, they don't get real big.
A little personal size.
They're a little personal, and they don't store as well as the rest of them, but they have the high sugar content, the best flavor to me, hands down. The next to me is a delicata.
Which we carry as
Which
well.
we call, and the next one down from that is a kabocha, and that's mine. But these sweet dumplings here, wow.
That's your ranking.
Man, that's
and
good
the
stuff.
reason they don't store 6 months like some pumpkins and stuff do is basically, has a lot to do with the sugar content. But those right there, you can cut the tops off of them, cut them in half, roast them, and they are absolutely delicious. Okay, let me get into, I'm next, Cena. All right, I got a couple of varieties of broccoli here I want to talk about. So we talk a lot about the green magic, and the green magic is one that a lot of commercial guys around here grow. It works really well in that early fall time slot when you still got a good bit of heat going on. It's a heat tolerant variety. This one here, Emerald Crown, and I've got some buddies that are big broccoli farmers, and this is how I know this. This is kind of the other one they grow. This Emerald Crown is a really nice one. Now this one is meant for a little cooler time slot than the Green Magic. So what a lot of them will do is they'll grow the Green Magic early fall, late summer, early fall, and then that Emerald Crown, they'll chase the Green Magic with the Emerald Crown.
So Emerald Crown is more of a spring variety for us?
It's more of a cooler weather variety. But it's got commercial qualities to it. It's going to be really consistent, productive.
Uniform.
Yeah. The other one I got here is a newer variety, and I haven't seen anybody out there carrying this one. And my little boy loves Godzilla toys, so I couldn't help myself with this one. This is called Godzilla broccoli. And what makes this variety unique, as the name suggests, it makes really, really big heads. But the heads grow on kind of at the top of the plant. So it makes it a lot easier to go through and harvest them. Traditional broccoli, it's kind of sunken down in there, the head is. These, it kind of sits up like Godzilla's head sticking out of the ocean, sits up on the head nicely, and I'm about to start some of these in the greenhouse. I'm really, really excited about these.
Squash. So the weird thing about squash is, back when I was coming up, there was only one kind of squash that you ever seen, and it was a crookneck squash. Well, over the years, the commercial people, I don't know if this was a generational thing, whatever, but the commercial guys tell me you can't sell a crookneck squash anymore.
Especially not them little bumpy ones.
The older bumpy ones. So these have went by the wayside as far as the seed industry pretty much goes, because everybody's wanted a straight neck, because that's what the supermarkets wanted, that's what the end consumer wanted, was that straight neck, smooth skin squash. But if you've got any age to you whatsoever, and we get a lot of people that want to know where they can get some early crookneck, because they are hard to find, and we got them in now. This is the old variety that I was raised on, that's got that curl in the handle there. Gets a little bit bumpy. This is the variety that you've been hunting for. This is it.
It's your old-timey squash right there.
Yep.
All right, let's see what I got over here. I think we got a couple ones similar together.
We do.
We'll talk about those in a minute. Let me get this one. Okay, so this is another one I'm about to start growing in the greenhouse. We had a lady on the Row by Row group was showing how she was putting rubber bands around her cauliflower plants to help wrap them. So this is a new variety here. Just got this in, called Twister. And the reason they call it Twister is because the leaves, the upper leaves, have a really good quality to them. They'll twist and wrap and really protect those cauliflower heads. So this Twister cauliflower is supposed to have excellent, like the best wrapping out there of any cauliflower variety, and also make really big, dense heads. And I'm going to start some of this maybe in the next day or two. Really excited about this Twister cauliflower. I've heard really good things about it.
Is it a white cauliflower?
Yeah, it's a white one. Big old white, pure white heads with really good wrapping, so the heads are going to stay white and give you a little bit of a longer harvest window. We need to get out there and cut those. And then I think we picked the same thing here on these. Did you grab those too?
Which two did you get? Yeah, I did. I grabbed these two.
These are old heirloom varieties, and I know that it's nothing new. They've been around for a while, but I've never grown these, and I'm excited about growing them. I'm gonna grow both of them and maybe mix them together, put them in my veggie bags.
I am too. I just love growing beans. Now here's the thing about growing beans. If you've never grown them before, you want to grow them earlier. Don't plan on growing a late crop of beans, because when it gets above 90 degrees, beans don't do well.
Yeah.
So this is something you want to plant in the spring. It's one of the first crops you want to plant in the spring and grow off. Enjoy them. Here in the South, we'll enjoy them end of May, 1st of June, then we extinguish them and go on. Now the weird thing about this wax bean is this baby is stringless. This is a bush bean, but it is stringless. So I'm gonna grow both of these too. Can you imagine what kind of presentation you can make with both of those on the plate there?
From what I understand, picking them tender, you can make you a little bean salad to eat them raw, and they're really good. And mixing those two together, that's going to be something else.
Okay, I got one more, and I'm going to be through here. Scarlet Emperor runner bean. Now this is a pole bean, and it has got absolutely profound, wonderful color to it, and it makes a big bean. Now you could do these two ways. You could, pick them tender as a bean and snap them the way we do here in the South and eat them as a bean, or you can let them grow on off and you can have you some dried beans. This is a perfect opportunity for me to try some dried beans this year.
Yeah, and we got two varieties of runner beans actually, the Scarlet Emperor, and then we got one called White Emergo. Both of them have that pole growing habit, and both of them are known to make really beautiful, bright flowers that do a good job of attracting pollinators.
This makes a pink flower that's absolutely gorgeous. Now, as we said, this is a runner bean, so you're going to need to trellis it in some form or fashion. There again, it's a bean above 90 degrees. It's going to throw those blooms off, and you're not going to have any beans after that. So plant them early, get them off early, and then move on.
So you can pick them just like you would a green pole bean, eat them like that as a snap bean, or let them get bigger, and you'll have these almost look like butter beans.
Scarlet Emperor runner bean. That just sounds good, don't it?
It does.
A dark purplish variegated color.
So go check those out on the website. All those we showed you today, if they're in packets, they're on the site, and you can go check those out and grab some of those if you want them. We've got a few questions from last week's show we want to get into, and I'll let you kick it off. One quick thing, if we do answer your question on the show, send us an email to custserve@hosstools.com with your address, and we'll send you a nice little prize.
First one is from MG Renee, and she says, I never thought I'd try to grow krabi, but you've got me curious, and I'm going to try it. I like to get all my seeds from one source and haven't tried your seeds yet. I don't see North Georgia Candy Roaster on your website. Would you consider carrying those?
I sure would if I could find them. I haven't had any luck yet sourcing any North Georgia Candy Roasters.
I've grown them before.
Yeah, they're good. Great squash, good to eat, but
it's an old heirloom variety.
A lot of the vendors I'm seeing are out of them. If I can find some, I'll definitely snag them up and get them. As is the case, if we got a viewer that's recommending a really good variety, I'll always try to add it.
Yep.
Number 2 comes from the Nick Colvin. He says, where did you get the krabi slicer?
The krabi slicer, we have done wore one of these out. We're on our second one.
Let's put it right here in the middle so I'm turning it around.
Now the weird thing about this is it comes with different things right here, and you can take these right here And you can do scallop potatoes. You can do all kind of stuff in there. And you got 4 different ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ones you can choose from. So there you have it. Now the one we got here is the one we made the coleslaw with. It's the one that makes the little fine things. But heck, hash browns, all kind of stuff.
Cut up red taters and the French fries.
Yep. Now on the side here, it's got a thing.
Show them how easy it is to take the blade off real quick. So you just kind of hold this, move the handle back, you take the blade off, and then you can kind of set it. Well, I say that, if I can see what I'm doing here.
Now we don't sell these, but this is a good product we've had for a long time.
There it goes, and you set the blade back in there. This particular brand, and this might be the only brand, it's called King Cutter. If you type in King Cutter grater on Google, they're about 150 bucks. You can find them online. They've got this little thing that suctions them to the, just like that. So you can't it ain't gonna move on you when you're using it. All stainless steel, these things will last forever. I've got one that my wife found me at a flea market. So if you're a flea market flipper or like to go around the flea market, sometimes you can find these things. Just don't pay no more than $150 for them because that's what they run new. But they last forever and they're definitely handy to have.
Yep. Question number 3 comes from David H. David H asks, when planting pole beans on the trellis, should you plant single or double rows, and what would be the best spacing?
Okay, we was just talking about pole beans, weren't we? So pole beans, I usually plant them because we're growing them vertically, and I usually plant them about 3 inches apart along the row. I stack them in there pretty tight. You can plant on both sides of the trellis, and I have done that.
Yeah, I have too.
Just be aware that it's going to take you a little longer to pick them because you're just going to have all this dense foliage there, and you're going to have to kind of dig through there and find them. So yeah, you can double your productivity that way. It's just going to take you a little longer to harvest them. All right. 4th question comes from Rhonda Ayers, and she says, couple of questions. If you plant on a smaller scale and do not need to use a full pack of seeds, how long will they store, assuming they're stored properly? And secondly, does fertilizer go bad over time? She says, does its composition change? She came across a bag that was left over, a bag of 2020 left over from a few seasons ago. She opened it up and it smelled like ammonia, so she thought it was bad, threw it out. So seed storage, fertilizer, longevity.
Seed storage, seeds don't like extremes either way. So if you can put them in a situation where they don't reach any kind of extreme humidity or temperature, they're pretty stable. The problem is when you put them somewhere like in a car or something like that where the temperatures get up to 100 degrees, or if they get real cold and then you bring them back up a constant, even if you put them at room temperature. If you keep your house at 68 degrees all the time, leaving them out there is fine.
Yeah.
Put them in the refrigerator. A lot of people like to put them in the refrigerator, and you can do that too. The problem is moving them from extremes. That's where seeds go bad on you at. On your fertilizer, I've had fertilizer set up and it'll get hard. If it gets a little bit of moisture in there, it'll get hard. You can bust that up and it's still fine to use. I do that all the time. Where you run into your fertilizer going bad, if it somehow or another gets enough moisture in there, it starts to melt. If that moisture gets in there, that fertilizer starts to melt and it gets a little mushy on you, I would discard it somewhere or another and get you some new. So that's kind of the way I look at fertilizers. The hardness doesn't bother me. You can bust it up. But if it's melting down on me, do away with it.
Yeah, one more thing on that. You want to keep it not exposed to air oxygen if you can, because a lot of times it can oxidize and that will change the chemical composition. So keep it wrapped up or sealed up.
If you leave it open, especially on the 20 or any of these water solubles, they can attract moisture in and decompose a little bit like that. So you want to keep them in the airtight as much as you can and keep them out of those extreme humidity situations.
That's why we sell ours in the little zip bags. You can zip them back up.
All right, Stevie Henry says, have you harvested the green magic broccoli, and what is the average weight of your head?
Well, I happen to have picked some. So my broccoli's just now getting ready. Look at there. Those are 2 nice broccoli heads, I'd say. Now the weight, this is a little bit subjective because it's going to depend on how far down there you cut it. But I weighed each of these. This slightly bigger one here come in at 1.05 pounds. This one come in at 0.95 pounds.
So what you have there, folks, is 2 pounds of broccoli head.
That's right. So I would say each head averages around a pound. Now I could let these get a little bit bigger. You play a dangerous game there because once they get seedy, they ain't worth a toot to eat.
I say that's the perfect time to harvest them.
So I'd say a pound on these, and that's a good sized broccoli head. And we've still got several more rows to harvest.
We've been eating steamed broccoli twice a week for the last 2.5 weeks.
You ought to be feeling pretty
Man,
healthy.
It's good to me. Put a little cheese on there, some Cavenders, steam it up. Woo.
All right, folks. So next week is Christmas.
Christmas time.
And we won't be doing any videos next week. We're going to take a break and enjoy the holidays. And we hope everyone out there enjoys the holidays as well. Hope you have a Merry Christmas. And we appreciate all of y'all tuning in every week and watching the show. And Merry Christmas. Happy
Merry
holidays.
Christmas. Hope everybody has a blessed one.
And we'll see y'all in the new year.